So hello everyone, welcome to our Hackon workshop. It's called Developing a Beginner-Friendly Hackathon, and it's exactly what the description is. So we'll walk you through, by the end of the workshop, you'll know a bit more about how to incorporate beginner-friendliness, inclusivity, those aspects into all the many different little details that go into running a hackathon. And so the four of us are Womanhacks organizers, so we'll give insight into share a lot of tips about how we run how we run our Womanhacks hackathon, but we hope and think that a lot of those ideas would translate into and be applicable to all sorts of hackathons, each unique and different in their own awesome way. There'll be time for questions at the end, so you can use the session chat and hop in just to type out questions, and if when we see them, we can respond, or we'll just have a lot of time reserved for questions at the end. And we have 2 activities throughout too. So I'll start now. Hi, my name's Leah. I'm just graduated from UCSB, and I'm starting a PhD in quantum computing this fall. I'm an MLH, I'm MLH Top 50, and I'm a co-founder of Womanhacks.
Yeah, so I'm Lina, and I'm the current president of Womanhacks.
I'm Elizabeth, and I was a part of the logistics team in Womanhacks 2020.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nery. I was head of logistics for Womanhacks 2019. We spell woman with an X because woman with an A contains and derives from the word men. We also use an X to foreground transgender, non-binary, and woman of.
Throughout this workshop, we split it up into 4 main parts. The first one is mission and marketing. The second is mentoring and workshops. The third is judging and prizes. And the fourth is about how to run your opening and closing ceremony and recruit speakers for it. So we hope that all these 4 sections will cover a lot of the details that go into running a hackathon too. And then anything that isn't under these categories, feel free to ask questions about too.
We believe diversity and inclusion should be a part of the hackathon planning from the very beginning, not just as an afterthought. For the first part of this workshop, we'll think about how someone new to programming might perceive our hackathon and use that perspective to reimagine the culture of our hackathon. We'll start with the mission statement because that's what brings together your team behind the hackathon.
Here we see the mission statement as it is presented on our website. And so this mission statement is really important because it's like the first impression that people have when they visit our website. And as Elizabeth mentioned, it's also the underlying goals just written out that bring the team of organizers together and help us recruit organizers and other people to support the cause. I'll just read a bit of the mission statement to get an idea of what ideas and how we bring together the missions, the sub-missions, I guess, that make up the overall mission. So our mission is to advance equity for the female identifying and non-gender conforming people in our community through advocacy, education, and philanthropy. Each year, we bring hundreds of university women together for a weekend dedicated to exploring tech, professional growth, and having fun, all while bridging the gender gap. Next, we address the elephant in the room of underlying the problem that our hackathon is aiming towards solving. Since 1990, not only has the percentage of female computing professionals dropped from 35% in 1990 to 25% in 2018, but also the percentage of women graduating with a computer science degree has also dropped. We seek to change this percentage to diversify the playing field and to help women begin their journey in this exciting career. So by addressing the elephant in the room per se, then we can work towards how to overcome these barriers and make it clear that our hackathon is accepting of people from all levels of experience, whether they've never coded before or never attended a hackathon, to if they're like career hackathoners. So last part of the mission statement, as I just said, with tech talks and workshops designed for people of all levels, our slogan is because empowered women empower women. So this is like goes on our stickers and stuff. It's just really cute.
The Womanhacks Officer Board had a 1-to-1 computer science to non-computer science officer ratio every year. This gives our board the perspective of an actual beginner with little to no experience who is interested in tech. It also provides valuable insight for non-engineering students. We use everyone's different strengths to provide our attendees with a great hackathon.
So, as our workshop title suggests, our target audience is beginners. So we have to start and define what exactly is a beginner. For us, we defined a beginner as first-time hackers as well as first-time coders. And so this means they were often non-engineering majors or first and second year engineering students. We had our applicants self-identify as a beginner or not during the application process. So in order to market toward beginners, we went through different marketing tactics. So internal marketing would be within our own college. So we had some in-class announcements as well as department emails, but not just going in toward the engineering department. We also looked at non-engineering classes, STEM and humanities, as well as tabling in around campus and also working with clubs that have similar missions as us. External marketing outside of our college campus, we also emailed other college departments and asked them to spread the word about Womanhacks, as well as working with other hackathons and just promoting each other. So this is a great place to have the network, and also other organizations with similar interests. So we mainly focused on digital marketing, and we utilized interest forms to collect email lists before applications were live, because during in-class announcements, like department emails, tabling, club partnerships, just getting the word out and having like a non-committal interest form was much easier to get people first like in the door, per se. Then we also utilize these social media challenges on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to encourage their friends to like spread the word and apply to Womanhacks. So here is a picture of our tabling with our very cute posters, as well as a giveaway that we did on Facebook.
I see a question in the session chat from Andrew. So the question is, how do you change your message between marketing to experienced hackers and beginners? I'll give a stab on it, and if anyone else running this wants to pop in, just speak up. So we do market, like we have this kind of the same message, I would say. And we just have split up our applications into beginner and advanced categories. So it's the same application system, but we take note of whether hackers are advanced or beginner, and it's self-identified. And we have a beginner and advanced price pool. And so we don't really necessarily need to market to experienced hackers because they know the gist of it. They know what hackathons are, and like they would want to attend based off just kind of more usual hackathon marketing. So that's why we put more emphasis into trying to market to beginners who it's more of a challenge because they don't know what a hackathon is or might not have coding experience or know what to expect.
Just from my experience with tailing, just being like, are you interested in coding? Because I feel like a lot of people are interested in coding, but when they hear hackathon, they're really intimidated, especially just the word like hack. People think about like hacking the government, which is like a really common misconception. So just like emphasizing that it's like, we have lots of mentors, and like personally for us, we have a lot of intro workshops for people to learn. That's how we kind of advertise like the more beginner friendliness. And we also have like stats to show like how we had like non-engineering majors like be really successful at our hackathons. Yeah.
Which we'll cover.
And then can you give an example of a social media challenge? Yeah. If you look at this page, we have things like oh, if you tag friends on this post, that'll get you an entry. As you can see, we also like doing Twitter, like retweeting, as well as like sharing like on your story. But yeah. Also, there's like a common one is like a meme challenge. And I think that's like my favorite one. I've won a meme challenge before. So I used to be like the head of marketing. Yeah.
So at the first Womenhacks Hackathon in 2019, about half the participants were self-reported as beginners, while the other half were experienced hackers. The next year, the stats. Looking at the graph, about 2/3 of attendees at Womanhacks 2.0 were not computer science majors. We had about 50 we had some hackers with about 50 different backgrounds and majors. Some popular non-engineering majors included biology, environmental science, mathematical sciences, and statistics. And some other popular non-STEM majors included sociology, communications, global studies, and political science. And now we've come to our first activity. So we're going to ask you to write down the, or maybe you can just think about it. Ask yourself these questions. So think about for your hackathon, first of all, who is eligible to apply? Will it be high schoolers? Will it be competitive? And maybe you can put that in the chat. Think about it a little bit. Then who is it marketed to? Now this depends on where and how you market. So which majors are you going to market to? Which student organizations are you? And how does this pass through word of mouth? Thirdly, we're going to ask yourself who actually attends. And this is going to be who your marketing actually appeals to. And then lastly, who is it prepared to support? And this answer to the last question is going to be the topic of the rest of this workshop.
Does anyone have any questions? We'll like take a little pause. Where is everyone from? And like, if you host a hackathon, what hackathon? Tech Together Boston rep here. Cool. Hack TX, cool. In Vancouver? Okay, from everywhere. Love that. Hackmer said, go UCs. Wow, love this. Technica. Oh, I wish we could go to the other workshop that's running at the same time right now. I promise I attend. It's like 1 a.m. for you, Joshua. Like, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Okay. Hack Bean Pot. That's so cute. Okay. All right, cool. I hope everyone had some time to think about the questions, and I guess we'll like move on. Okay.
All right, so next up, we're going to cover mentoring and workshops for your hackathon. And we have a lot of work ahead of us to achieve our goal of reaching a more diverse audience. and building a supportive community that continually mentors each other. We want our hackers to end the weekend with confidence that they can succeed
What's
as
really important
programmers.
to having a beginner-friendly hackathon is not just the community and environment and marketing, but also how to help hackers gain the technical skills that they can walk away with at the end of their weekend, in our case, or the end of the hackathon. And so beginners want to attend hackathons on the learning side, not just to learn skills and like create projects, but also like, I guess, like the idea of collaborating with someone and having mentorship. All those different aspects will tie into each other. We recommend, as organizers, making a hackathon guide for beginners attending a hackathon to look at how to install software for the first time, for example, certain programming languages or APIs, how to navigate the workshops that are at your hackathon and descriptions of them, and how to submit. So we realize that it's pretty common for new first-time hackers to not know how the judging process works, how to present, or how to use dev posts. That's a common thing for mentors to help beginning hackers with. And yeah, we also recommend advertising before and during the event and online on your website, descriptions of all the workshops and announcing the workshops throughout the event multiple times, because beginners are like usually a bit shy about reaching out. And so if they learn about what the workshop descriptions are in friendlier, less jargony terms, then they'll just show up. Yeah. So this image on shown right here is a picture of our very first workshop at Womanhacks. So it's the same workshop we hosted in both 2019 and 2020. Womanhacks, that's taught by a UCSB computer science teaching professor. And because she's her teaching professor as a full-time job for teaching first-time programmers, she really understands the struggles that a beginner might experience their first time learning coding. It's a bit hard to see, but the slide shown right now, it's about variables. So she's teaching how to, what are variables and what they do to people who might have never seen a line of code, never seen what variables are before. And so it's really cool that it's exactly as we advertised, that someone with absolutely no programming experience, needing no prior knowledge, can just walk into our very first workshop and learn about how some of the semantics of programming, in this case Python. And so we designed it so our first workshop, just shown, leads into a lot of other accessible intro workshops, so that a hacker can build up a foundation of skills from the ground up and kind of choose which path of intro workshops that they're most interested in. So for instance, our second workshop is Intro to iOS. This picture here, it's my friend Scott teaching, and he's demoing how to make an iOS app to count the number of times a button is pressed and have it update on the screen of the emulator as a number that's the number of t-shirts printed on the screen. So it's nice to go from learning about semantically just what variables, type systems in Python, and at the end of the hour of the previous slide, learn what a for loop is, and then directly apply that right after with an interactive component. So here, a UI element that updates because of your own code. We try our best to order the workshops, increasing in difficulty and leading into each other. So Intro to Web Dev 1 workshop would lead into Intro to Web Dev 2, and workshops with more parts to it, like Intro to Unity, we would schedule towards the end of our workshop schedule. We also have advanced workshops, for example, API-specific workshops by sponsors that are also held throughout the hackathon. So workshops, and we mark clearly which workshops are intended for kind of beginner, intermediate, and advanced. We also have non-technical talks and workshops as part of the hackathon experience, and we schedule them at different times. So we kind of alternate-ish between having technical and then non-technical time slots in our schedule. For instance, at Womanhacks 2020, we had a student research panel so students could see and ask questions to women students doing research in computer science or using computer science for research in other fields.
There's a question if you would like to answer it, Leah, in the chat.
Yeah, I'll read it. So this question's from Sridhya. the question is, these workshops happen before the hackathon, right? They don't. They happen during the hackathon. So the first day of the hackathon, our hackathon being a weekend long, so from Friday night to Sunday early afternoon. So during the hackathon, when all the sponsors are there, like for example, some sponsor run workshops, and so people can even attend workshops after while they are still figuring out their hackathon project, or as they are figuring it out. So yeah, and we have mentors on site during the hackathon, which we'll talk about later in this workshop. So like it helps students get set up after the workshop happens, like with just mentors right there. And often our workshop hosts stick around for the few hours after the workshop as mentors.
Yeah, and then like Leah mentioned, so like the order of our workshops happens in difficulty. So like I guess goes up is what I want to say. So like on Friday night is when we'll be Android into iOS and into the coding workshops, so that people with little coding experience can start learning those skills early on.
Yeah. Okay. Good question. Okay.
So many hackers have a team or part of a team during registration, and many don't. In 2020, we added team formation to our schedule and saw improvement in the percentage of hackers who stayed the whole weekend compared to 2019. During team formation, students can find a team in person. We have organizers who hold category signs to facilitate groups by medium. For example, if a hacker wants to do web dev, they would go to the web dev sign to meet other people who also want to do the same. And hackers can also find team members online through a desk. Throughout the course of the hackathon, we have mentors. Mentors can be undergraduate or graduate students, people from industry, or people from companies who sponsor us. They are available to assist our hackers in their projects. We bring in mentors with various areas of expertise, such as mobile development, web development, and hardware. During 2020, we had mentors split into small tables spread out throughout the hacking space with kinds of what skills and APIs to work with, and having them spread out throughout the venue made them more approachable than having all of the mentors in one place together. And we also had mentors who wear different colored t-shirts to identify.
For our next activity, so this will be a role play activity. Since we don't have the ability to do like set up breakout rooms in this platform, we'll just show you. I guess you'll just role play with yourself and imagine that, if that's okay. Sorry about that. So first, you'll role play as a beginner. So what that means is, here our like diverse suit mascot from Womanhacks 2020 is just like saying, if I'm new to programming, how do I start learning? So by putting yourselves in the shoes of a beginner, perhaps remembering back to when you learned programming for the first time, or when you first attended a hackathon, just wonder, like, first of all, remember how confused you must have been, and then just think about questions you might ask in a beginner's shoes. So we can just leave, I'd say, like 2 minutes for that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people also want to like self-learn how to code, so it's just really generic question. Even like in the high schooler level, because there's also high school hackathons, just like, how can I get involved with coding?
We had a bunch of high schoolers come to Womanhacks 2020, like I think 16 of them. Yeah, just like a local club of like girls in tech at a local high school, and we just like gave them food, let them see the presentations of the projects at the end, gave them their own intro workshop and free t-shirts and stuff. It was just really nice.
Oh, that's cool to hear that people had beginner workshops before the hackathons. Yeah, I feel like that could also generate some interest. But I would probably rehost some of the workshops that you host beforehand, like during the hackathon, for people who couldn't maybe be able to attend.
We find that a lot of our beginner hackers are from our university, so from UCSB, and whereas the advanced hackers are mostly from UCSB and other universities as well. So we don't really know much about how to reach out to beginner hackers at other universities because we can't really table their physically on their campus the same way.
Yeah, definitely have some not too overly technical talks during hackathons, just so everyone can understand. But especially, we'll talk about that later also.
Yeah. So we'll kind of wrap up the beginner part of the role play. Can you click?
Yeah.
Yeah. So next we'll think about how to role play as an organizer, like the point of this conference. So if you're an organizer answering the questions of a beginner, you can say something like, "We've got you covered. We recommend," and then all these different things. So the purpose of this roleplay activity is imagine yourself as the organizer at your hackathon that in a few months from now or sometime in the future, and that you've spent the past few months just planning for all these different aspects of a hackathon. And how would you answer a beginner's questions? You can be creative here since this is just kind of on the spot, but some ideas of the bullet points shown here of what you can explain and help guide beginning hackers and answer their questions and make them feel comfortable is how to access and navigate your hackathon guide, how to find a team and brainstorm ideas, how to navigate workshops in certain ways depending on how your hackathon organizes them, and when or how to ask mentors for help.
Also, just reading Joshua's comment, definitely workshops, I feel like beginners are more likely to attend because the experienced ones just want to grind out their projects for those 36 hours and not spend the time to necessarily learn and the basics or new skills if they already have something in mind. So definitely really push promoting your workshops, and if be oh, our workshops are starting in 3 minutes, and then have a group of people of beginners all go together so they feel more comfort, and also just networking in that sense as well. Yeah, definitely asking for help. That's why we made mentors really easily accessible through our Slack channel, also in person. And also just we also had them walk around just to ask if they needed help, if they were just too afraid to even take that first step.
And beginner workshops are helpful to advanced hackers too, who don't know that API or don't know that skill set. So, for example, we were really surprised at a lot of the advanced category submissions at Womanhacks were of new skills that people that they were learning just they picked up during the hackathon. They weren't afraid to try new skills, try to learn some new stuff at the hackathon, even if that it's you have less chance of getting your prize if you try an old skill is what people might think, but actually in your presentation you can explain how you just learned that right there just then.
Yeah. Also make your workshops interesting. Oh my gosh. I think our intro to web dev workshop previously was a random chicken nugget generator on a website, and a lot of people really enjoyed that. I saw people running around showing their laptops, look, I can make chicken nuggets on a website. And it was so cute to see everyone so excited that they could press a page and a chicken nugget showed up. I did say a random chicken nugget.
Yeah. We have a lot of our workshops run by student orgs too, so that's a way to spread the word and also partner with student orgs. It's cool.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to add about the importance of having beginner workshops in the hackathon. One thing that I did notice was sometimes even though beginners, even if they choose not to compete, they still go to all of their workshops to learn a little bit. And at the end of the day, that also ties to our mission because still introduces them to people.
Really encourage submitting. Like, as we said, we separated like the best hack, runner-up, and honorable mention for beginner teams, and so they definitely have like a better chance and they feel more comfortable submitting. They're like, oh, we don't have much experience. But yeah.
That's a lot about workshops, but I think that's like super important. I'm glad we had this discussion. Yeah, I guess we can move on.
Yes. Okay, cool. So yeah, going on to like judging and prizes, which I kind of just mentioned a few seconds ago. We want beginners to be not intimidated to submit their projects, because often, like, especially if they don't really know how like hackathon projects are supposed to go, they're like, oh, my projects is not going to be good enough. It's not going to win. I shouldn't even submit. And I've been a beginner at a hackathon and I didn't submit because I was like, oh, it's not like completely finished. Oh, it has so many errors and stuff. But that doesn't really matter. So really encourage like beginners, especially, to submit a project, like regardless of like how like confident they are in their projects. So this is how, talking about it with like I was talking about categories of prizes. So we had some for like all hackers, so the generic like education, health, sustainability, or gaming, etc., and also sponsored categories. Anyone can enter for these prizes, but we also decided to split some categories between beginners and experienced so that beginners feel like they have a better like chance and more confident in their abilities. But yeah, as we have defined like what a beginner specifically was to us early on, you also have to define what a beginner team is early on. So this can be the entire team has to be of beginners, at least one person, or 50%. That's up to your hackathon team organizing team to decide, but define that early on so that you can split them into groups for when you grade them or judge them. So moving on to judges, we really wanted a like diverse and also like understanding judges that kind of know the process of a hackathon and also like the capabilities of beginners. So we specifically reached out to like intro CS professors and also sponsor referrals, mentor applicants. Mentor applicants are often grad students and probably have also participated in hackathons before, as well as reaching out to grad student orgs and also industry professionals. So judging has been like probably the hardest part of our hackathon experience, and I feel like it's a common sentiment. So just some tips and tricks for judging is that MLH reps are at your hackathon if you decide to partner with them, and they'll be there to help and like help you through the hiccups that inevitably happen. And we personally used a ranking system instead of hard scores to combat different judges' ratings intensities. And also for things to like make the, I guess, beginners like more comfortable about like the judging rubric, we usually grade on creativity, impact, and stability, as well as some other things. And then we have final decisions based on discussion by judges to like also talk about, I guess, people's like process through the way. And so it's not just a hard ranking system.
So now we will talk about our open and closing ceremony speakers. When considering possible speakers, we look for individuals from companies who sponsor us. We reach out to local industry leaders so that hackers can connect with people in the area. And one important thing to consider is that we look for someone who can give us speech that is not too technical, so that hackers from a non-technical background can relate. We are proud of bringing in diverse and thought-provoking speakers, mentors, and judges to our event. The computer science and physics population at the undergraduate level is approximately 15% female, and that percentage decreases with age. One of our past speakers was a theoretical and computational physicist. And we also had a data scientist who was a pregnant working woman who received math instead of computer science. That one. So this wraps up our presentation portion. Do you guys have any questions? If so, you can type them in.
Yeah, we can also go over the chat. Let's see. How to find a team. Yeah, for us, we like in person, we actually like held up signs that were like, what are your interests in with like the gaming, cooking, like our categories. And so people like all came like to the actual people with the signs, and they kind of talked about like what they wanted to do at projects and stuff. That was pretty helpful.
One thing that I thought helped was going around and asking people who were still like sitting at the tables if they had a team or not, and if they didn't, encouraging them to go.
Yeah, I think a big thing is like being the person to reach out if you want to be beginner friendly, because like as beginners, we're a little bit intimidated and we need that little extra push.
Should we just do the questions in chronological order? I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's so question from Joshua, how do you judge? So he had a follow-up to that question. Do you have all judges look at all projects, a random distribution with average ratings, or what? Whew. Well, that's I guess I was the judge person from the organizing team this past year, so I'll answer that. So we split judges into beginner category and advanced category judges, and also on top of that, we gave the area categories. So like those would be like education, health, like best like iOS hack, best web app, like those kind of broader categories. So the beginner category judges look at all of the beginner category submissions, and the advanced category judges look at all the advanced category submissions. How we did it in 2020, which we liked it slightly better than 2019, is that we had 2 rounds of judging. So the advanced category got to, the top teams of the advanced category got to present, after the science fair style first round. So then the second round would be this like presentation with like a demo or slides on like a slide screen. So we set that up. As for the actual reading stuff, to be honest, letting the MLH rep do that because they have a system set up for that is by far the easiest way. Like all the MLH reps are like, they know better than anyone else on how to, I think, on how to do the logistical like numerical part of the scoring. But we did have a rubric, which we didn't show here because the rubric is kind of up to each hackathon, but like it's just, but our organizers just made a rubric of different categories and like specifically saying which like numerical scoring could correspond to each category. Like for example, a 1 would be like this project did not have like, or just I guess like we've used words to verbally describe the scoring, but to make it, to eliminate bias from judges, it was always a ranking system. But we don't show the numerical scores to the hackers, not just for like confidence reasons, but also since the ranking anyway, the rubric is not, it's just meant to be a guide for judges so that the criteria is somewhat similar across judges. And we do have a judge orientation the morning of judging to, I think one of the earlier, someone in the chat said that they had a judge who trashed their hacker. I think that having the judge orientation, having the judges arrive early really gets the layout of things pretty clear. And the judges are like enthusiastic to meet each other and like work together on that too. So I hope that covers it. The next question was from Samuel. What roles do you suggest when building your core team for a beginner-friendly hack? We don't suggest roles because we actually found that the projects were super, super innovative and creative when we didn't, like, we just let them figure out their own projects. So, like, if someone of a team was looking at it for ideas, like, we could suggest things, or like as organizers or the mentors. But what we found was that, like, a lot of the hackers already have like things they're passionate about, and just like the coding skills could just be a project that builds off of that. And there's not necessarily roles, like it's more like the project would suit the roles rather than the roles suiting the like team or project. We thought just that was really cool. So I guess the TLDR of that answer is that we didn't do that.
By core team, do you mean like organizers or like teams at the hackathon that are competing?
The way I interpreted the question was that it was to build a team of like when hackathons, sometimes people have like a team of a UI UX designer, and someone is like the front end person, someone's the back end person for certain hacks.
Samuel says organizers.
Oh crap! Sorry.
Previously,
we have committees.
Yeah, previously we had committees. So we have like exec that over like kind of runs things, but we have like their head of our committees, logistics, finance, marketing, hacker experience. That's how we kind of like had our roles split up. And then within these committees, like some people like under marketing ran social media, like different social medias, and then some, like all of them like would go in person and talk to clubs. Finance would be like looking at sponsorships, creating our prospectus, and managing our budget. Logistics would like go through all our scheduling and how we would format the place and judging, as well as hacker experience. So like hacker experience was both like internally make our org happy, and Jennifer is part of that committee and she's in this chat. And like, and also just like creating really fun events during our hackathon to like promote like hacker experience. So we had like painting mason jars and like some games with like prizes, as well as like some de-stressing events. So like our hackathon is not too intimidating and just completely grind your projects out.
There's a question in chat about the specifics of admissions. We can talk about that offline, I suggest, just because that's like unique to each hackathon. So that like if we were to answer that question, it wouldn't be applicable to like hackathons in general. But we'll just talk about that offline.
Yeah, feel free to message us. Yeah. What are some good example of prizes to motivate participants or free swag? Like prizes to submit, honestly, any prize will like encourage like participants, unless you mean like to maintain them throughout the event. Like food is like your biggest like motivator for like people to come to your event. But previous prizes that we've had Polaroids, Ataris. I know like AirPods is a common one. Keyboards, other things. I'm kind of blanking out.
We also have things. Like in the 2019 one, I think the overall winner got a Nintendo Switch. We also gave out Google Home Minis. What are the ones?
Yeah, we try looking at products from our sponsors. Like that's like kind of our go-to first thing. If not, like if it's a category like a category event, such as like gaming, we look at like gaming prizes. We purchased some prizes like pretty early last year during Black Friday, just so like they were also cheaper. So we kind of looked at that.
Also, if it was like a company sponsored category, they would provide the prize.
How would we raise money to provide prizes? So that's looking at sponsors. You have to reach out to them with kind of like your prospectus. So like in our prospectus, it has our mission, what is a hackathon, and then our like sponsorship tiers, and like then offer things to the sponsors. So this would include like, oh, we have like kind of like a career fair at our event, and so you're allowed to like speak with the hackers during this time, or you can sponsor a meal, so we'll like mention you during the meal, or also providing resumes, / even we have like company dinners, and those are just like some ideas for getting sponsors.
The career hour that Lina mentioned, so that was like every attendee gets a stamp card, and if they start talking to sponsors, they can get a stamp on their stamp card. And once they've filled up their stamp card, they are eligible for raffle tickets for a raffle prize announced during closing ceremony. So that encourages people to stick around because, like, if you're just talking to people, you have a chance at like a raffle prize. And also, we have a lot of food sponsors. So, like, getting food sponsors means that we can get discounts if we might buy meals in bulk, or we can get like free yerba mates, stuff like that.
Also, previously there was a question and it said, you mentioned admissions. So what are your criteria or
Specific, I think we're going to like talk about it else like offline. Yeah, it's also because ours is a diversity hackathon, so our admissions are a little bit different, I would say.
There's a lot of detail, so it would take us like 10 minutes just to talk about it, so that's why we're not going to dive into that now. Basically, we do first come, first serve admissions, and we admit basically a certain like percentage of beginners and a first certain percentage of advanced. And since common to most hackathons, like there's about 50% attrition between RSV hackers who RSVP and hackers who actually show up to the event. This is, at least MLH says, this is common to all in-person hackathons and also virtual hackathons. We also have walk-ins, so we actually get a lot of hackathons from a lot of hackers from walk-ins, especially since we rely on word of mouth too. So sometimes like people would talk to their friends and say, "Oh, what are you doing this weekend?" And that's when they find out about Womanhacks. And I think our word of mouth is pretty good, considering the like increase in percentage of beginners between Womanhacks 2019, our first year, and Womanhacks 2020. Budgeting is also a question that will take like at least 10 minutes to actually go into detail on. For a virtual hackathon, there's other workshops at MLH Hackcon that would cover that more. Since ours was an in-person hackathon, we probably have just as much experience as anyone.
Yeah, if you know the answer to that,
we don't know the answer to that. Sorry, we haven't run the virtual hackathon yet. We're gonna run a virtual one for Womanhacks 2021, just because no one knows what's gonna happen with the world between then and now.
So that's kind of a question I also need to figure out. Yeah, so for prizes, we limit our teams to 4 per team, or you can have more than 4 people per team. Our first year, but there only would be 4 prizes. So we limited prizes to like 4 per team. But like that's also kind of like how we ran ours.
I think like time-wise we're about like I don't want to say we're done, but time-wise we are done. Yeah. For any further questions, we're open to being contacted on Discord. So what would be the best way to find us on Discord? The MLH Slack.
I can link my Discord thing in the session if you would like to at me or DM me. Also connecting on Hopin works as well. But yeah, it was really nice talking to all of you. Thank you for coming. Yeah, really good questions. I hope you guys will develop more beginner-friendly hackathons and encourage our like next generation of hackers.
Ooh. That's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for attending, and good luck. Have fun.
Thank you. You too. Good luck to everyone hosting their hackathons.